Colonel Nieuwoudt's lawyer, Francois van der Merwe, faxed us his client's response to the allegation. He says, "My client denies that he had any part in any action which led or could have led to the disappearance of the so-called PEPCO 3, or that he has any knowledge in this regard. It is significant that in 3 applications which were brought to the Supreme Court in this regard, my client's name was not mentioned once." The lawyer then quotes from Mr. Justice van Rensburg's judgment in the last of these applications, where the judge said, "If these facts are taken into consideration, it seems to me that the probabilities are in favor of some organization other than the police being responsible for the disappearance of Godolozi and his 2 companions." But in the Truth Commission this week, Colonel Nieuwoudt's name was also linked to another well-known Eastern Cape murder mystery, the Cradock 4. Matthew Goniwe, Fort Kalata, Sparrow Mkonto and Sicelo Mtlauli were the leaders of the Cradock Ratepayers Association, like PEPCO, an affiliate of the UDF and therefore targets of the state.
On the 27th of June 1985, he left for Port Elizabeth in the company of his friends, Fort Kalata, Sicelo Mtlauli and Sparrow Mkonto, and that was the last time we saw them. They were due back on the same night, and when they did not come back, we knew that something serious had happened. Early in the morning of the next day, I telephoned the UDF offices in Port Elizabeth. I also phoned Derek Swartz and Molly Blackburn to establish their whereabouts. Derek Swartz informed me that Matthew left with his friends for Cradock the previous night of the 27th June 1985 at about 9 p.m. You can imagine the shock, and I shivered to think what might have happened to these comrades. I kept the news secret for a while from the family, all the family, except for one person, my brother-in-law, was planning what to do next. On arrival at home, we were informed that the police had phoned. They left a message with a child, my brother-in-law's son, to inform the family that Matthew's burnt car had been found near the Scribante racing course outside Port Elizabeth. Immediately we knew that something serious had happened. Of course, we had pointers because in May, as you know, the PEPCO 3 disappeared without a trace. Relatives and the community were informed, and some members of the family had to go to Port Elizabeth to establish what had happened. It was this group that also assisted the families to identify the bodies later on. On Saturday, the 29th June 1985, the bodies of Sparrow Mkonto and Sicelo Mtlauli were found first, and that of Matthew and Fort were found on the 2nd of July 1985. All the bodies had multiple stab wounds and were badly burnt.
On July the 4th, 1985, Mr. Louis Nel, the then Minister of Information, rejected allegations that the authorities were responsible and blamed the murders on an internecine power struggle between opposing radical organizations.
The first inquest came up with nothing. And then the newspaper New Nation published a top-secret message from military intelligence. It called for the permanent removal from society of Matthew Goniwe, Fort Kalata, and others. The signal was sanctioned by the then head of military intelligence, General Joffel van der Westhuizen. Mr. Justice Neville Zietsman found that the Cradock 4 had been killed by unidentified members of the security forces. The commission had to adjourn for a while when Mrs. Kalata broke down during her testimony.
It affected me also.
The perpetrators of my husband's killing, they should not only be exposed, but they should appear in court so that everybody can see them.
And this was when Colonel Gideon Nieuwoud's name came up again.
They chopped off his right hand. We buried him without his right hand. We don't know what they did with it.
Okay.
We want that hand. Yes, we buried him. We heard that it is at the Lekranche police station.
At the Louis-le-Kranzi police station, I was shown a bottle with a watery substance which had a hand. And I remember that Sicelo was buried without a hand. Who showed you the hand? It was Harting. And there was another one who was charged in Port Elizabeth recently in connection with a bomb blast. Nieuwoud.